First, you want to get your music in there. Whoops, my volume is way too loud. You want to snip out specifically the part you want. So I've done it in 2 sections here. Place markers for every beat of the song, like I've done here. Make sure you enable velocity. For every marker, add a point there. And alright, apparently I could not speak back there, but the idea is to basically put a point on every marker, and then for each point on a marker, put a point 6 keyframes behind it, and also another point 6 keyframes ahead of it. It doesn't have to be exact, it just has to be like an estimated distance. So it should look like that. And I did that for every marker. I also got to make sure everything that surrounds the point on the marker is a slow fade, and every point that is on a marker is on a fast fade. That way the velocity spikes are a little sharper. Okay, start with the first point. So I just do a bit of a speed up and slow down there. The character's first motion is, I don't really know. He's doing like a hands up thing. What I want to do for the first beat is drag this velocity thing to the point where he does a specific movement, and I've already done that. Drag the velocity thing until he does a different motion. From here to there, he kind of like backs up and does whatever that is. He starts to turn, and the next beat he completely turns and does a new action. I want to make sure that he doesn't do more than one action between these beats, or else it wouldn't look smooth. Okay, for every marker you want to speed it up depending on your video. You want to like have a desired action for each beat. And after you've done that, make sure you set the points that are beside the points on your marker to a very slow velocity. Like I've set this to 13%, I've set that to 5% even. It starts off fast, but it slows down instantly. So that would just look like that. You can see that it speeds up ever so slightly to his next action, but then slows down again. And that's kind of like this little mountain of velocity. Here the velocity is 9%, it goes up to 200%, and it goes down to 13%. Speeds up and slows down. It's very instant. It's very hard to tell. For every beat, he's doing a different action, and when he does the action, it instantly slows down and then speeds back up for the next action on the next beat. So that's basically the idea in terms of the velocity of the video. If I use pan and crop, the very background would just be black, and that wouldn't be ideal. Blur mode curves gives you the option to wrap X and wrap Y, put it on reflect, so it kind of mirrors the video. First, I enabled the animation, just like this clock icon, for these values: Z distance, rotate, and brightness. So for all my markers, since I've already plotted these markers out, it actually makes this pretty simple. I basically add a point, make sure that you have blur mode curves selected, just click on the add keyframe. I add a keyframe for all my markers, and I set all of these to fast fades. Click on the first one, click Control and Shift, and click on the last one. You can set it to a fast fade. That makes these kind of sharp. So higher than 1 of Z distance makes the video zoom out, and lower than 1 makes it zoom in. I started with it zoomed out a tiny bit. You can see this tiny bit of a mirror on the very left side, and it zooms in to the next beat just ever so slightly. It zooms out again, and it zooms in a little more to 0.9. It zooms out to, should be like a zoom in, zoom out motion. So here is the video zoomed out, and here the video zoomed in. You can honestly randomize these values, just make sure you don't exaggerate them so it doesn't zoom in and out like so much. It should be ever so slightly. So that basically happens throughout the entire clip. Rotation, I've done a very similar idea. Start with 0 degrees rotate, and then I rotate it to 5 degrees. It goes to -5 degrees, and for every marker simultaneously it keeps shifting around 5 degrees and -5 degrees. So it kind of looks like it zooms in and out, and while it's at it, it rotates slightly. I'm not gonna do like a 45 degrees rotate, or else that'll look bad. And the last thing is brightness. Start at brightness of 1. Here's the different thing about brightness. I don't sync the brightness to the zoom ins and the zoom outs and the rotates. So what I did is I just randomized the brightness. I just randomly clicked on some points and I set the brightness higher. I don't do lower brightnesses because you don't want the video to look more dark, obviously. But at random points, I basically set the brightness really high. Like here I set it to 2.3. At random points, at random times, I just set the brightness a little higher. There should be like these little flashes every then and now. The last thing I did in terms of video effects is I added magic bullet looks. So that basically makes the colors of the videos change. Without magic bullet looks, it just look kind of plain and doesn't look that good. And then I added another preset here. This one's a little different. When I transitioned from my first music cut to my second music cut, I basically did a crossfade here to crossfade from my first magic bullet look preset to the second magic bullet looks preset. And that's that for the entire video portion. And the last thing I did was I added my tag there. All I did was I just added text, gave it a tiny drop shadow, and changed the opacity to like 35%. And there it is. That's the completed edit, which took like, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour to do 19 seconds.